All right. Welcome to Witches and Warlocks,
What?
where we have divine conversations around divine partnerships and connections. And tonight, our topic is the taking your power back as a divine feminine energy. And so, really, we're taking your power back as a divine feminine energy, and it can go for the divine masculine. Just depends on if you resonate with the divine feminine energy, then this will be for you. But it could go either way. But because we resonate with the feminine energy, that's what we'll be discussing tonight. And it's just like within a connection, like before, when we talked about the beginning stages of connection, and you feel so much magnetism. That's that magnetism, that magnet energy that you get from the other partner. All right. So you'll feel that connection and immediate attraction and that draw to that person. Like you may not understand it, but it is there. You'll go through a point of you'll start to see some things within yourself and possibly within your partner that needs to be worked on. Then you'll start to see that separation occur, and then you'll do the work. Your partner will do the work. And then once that work is done, that needs to be, if you are elevated enough to recognize the work that needs to be done, especially with both parties, then you'll end up coming back together. And then you'll have ascended partnership and what that looks like as an evolved spiritual partnership as it progresses and ascends within this timeline and various timelines of existence. Because you're just not working on this one, you're working all across the board within all existences. So that is the conversation tonight about taking your power back and what that looks like. All right. So I'm gonna give it to Galactic Honey, and she's gonna start sharing how she feels about taking her power back.
Well, taking your power back is a beautiful topic to have because at this time we have a lot of women who have been giving their power away, not just to their masculine, but to it could be anything. What are you giving your power to? It could be your emotions, being overly emotional, not sitting with your emotions, but um, as it pertains to the divine connection, there are ways that we give our power away all the time. And the number one way is giving your power away when there is no equal reciprocity. There's no equal give and take in the partnership. Um, there should always be equal give and take in the partnership. You should never be giving more to your partner when your partner is not giving back to you. And that's at any time. Um, there are times where you're going to give more and they're going to give more, but there should still be some type of equal medium of you giving and receiving energies. So, one of the ways that I have given my power away in partnership is over giving to the connection, over giving my emotions, not speaking my truth. So one of the things that we can do as divine feminines is to not allow ourselves to give more to a partner that is not um, either receiving the energy, because a lot of times you have a lot of blocked masculines that don't even know how to receive all of that energy that you're giving them. So that's just a waste of your energy. You're just giving it away. One of the ways that I'm learning right now about the giving and receiving of my power is sacred. You know, in these partnerships, it's about learning who you are at a soul level. And I was an overgiver. I overgave, like, because I just want to give to my partner. um and I'm also understanding, so I understood like that my partner has their own trauma that has put them in a position to where they can't receive what I'm giving them um in a way to where they can give it back to me. And so that in turn put me in a lot of situations where not only did I overgive and overexert myself in the connection, I was completely depleted, and like to where, I had nothing left. Now that was at the beginning of the connection where I was overly giving my emotions, where, I was just like, take my love, take my love. You love me, you love me, take my love. And my partner at that time was not in a position to be able to give that back to me. He didn't even know how to receive that, because as a divine feminine, a lot of times your partner has never come across another partner that's like you. So a lot of times that thinks about them, in a way that that allows them, that makes them feel worthy of that energy. Excuse me. But um I had to learn early on that that was a misuse of my own power, and to continuously give, it put me in a situation where I was, depleted, depressed, like feeling like a victim. It was a whole lot of things that come with giving your power away. And we are never victims. This is all a learning experience. This is here to teach us about ourselves and what needs to be healed within us.
Exactly. And looking at it, going back, looking at like your initial connection, like I was stating before, it's so magnetic. It's so unexplainable. It's so different and new. And then it feels like home. You feel like, damn, I feel like I done found somebody else that's me. It feels like just you in a different form.
Yeah.
So it can feel like, hey, I want to do this for me. The love is overwhelming because you've connected with somebody that is you. So as a feminine energy, it's natural for us, because especially as mothers, to see someone else as us, but especially when we are divinely connected to someone, then we really feel that connection to them, which can make us either overgive or have an energy of fear of loss of this person.
Mm.
Like you don't want to lose them. So you do a lot of different things to try to keep them there, to make sure you appease their feelings. But then at the same time, you're allowing shit that shouldn't be just pushed around on your side. So because you're trying to appease this energy of somebody that you have this deep connection to for whatever reason, then you're allowing yourself to be put on the back burner. So what source is going to do, source is going to bring it back to your awareness, like, no, this is not balance. Like
Mhm.
source is all about balance. So I've seen it like, hey, this isn't balanced with you giving. It's not balanced with this person not showing you the attention and the love that you need and
That's
you
what you
give
were
to
just
them.
saying.
Like,
Mhm.
so it's gonna be like, like no matter how it ends up happening, there has to be a point where there has to bring about balance. It may not feel good. So I went through a point where it happened to me. Like I was allowing things to just occur without me speaking my voice. I've shared this with y'all before. And so with me not speaking my voice, it got to a point where, I'm type of person where I hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. The next thing like boom, it's
Mhm.
all out now. And so when I did that and I let it go, I was able to go through a process of actually reflecting, myself back to me and actually how I just did the most when the least should have been expected because the least is what was given to me.
Exactly.
So Source was able to flip it back and be like, we finna get some balance in this thing. First, Source sent people in to bring the balance back to me in another form. Didn't have to come from who I gave it to. It just needed to come back to me. See, it's all about we don't, it's even like when we give money to homeless people, we're not looking for a blessing to come back from the homeless person. We may be looking for it to come back in other ways, right? So that
Mhm.
was the same thing, the way I looked at it. Like it wasn't him that was able to give it back to me because he still has healing work to do, but I received it from somewhere else because that energy that I gave out has to come back. Like that's just the laws of the universe. So that energy came back, but when that energy came back, it was able to help fortify me. It was building me up and then giving me the knowing of who I am as a divine feminine energy of like what I will and will not tolerate moving forward within a connection. So it gave me that understanding back of who I was. Because first you have to get over the fact that, hey, I done gave and gave and gave, and or I didn't receive, or nothing was reciprocated. You get over that, you allow that to pass. And then once you get the time back to really look into how, no, like it wasn't like we talked about last week. It's not you, it's not me, it's you. So I get my power back on who I am and get to stand in my power because, of course, when we have sex with someone, we've opened up ourselves in another regard to still be connected to them. All right, in so many different realms. And so we hold on to that energy of them being that muscle and that memory of having someone up within you. So the body is going to be connected to that person just for that energy that they put inside of you. So you have to release on so many different levels. And then once you get to slowly start releasing and letting that go, you're drawing back in that energy back to you. So as you allow that internal of that sexual energy of being inside of me, your smell, your scent, your connection, what you look like, and all those physical attributes, and then that magnetism, then you start looking at, but nothing was reciprocated back to me the way it was supposed to. So all of those things are good, but now I understand who I am. And when you start understanding who you are, then you kind of start getting upset because you be like, no,
Yeah.
I should have been. No, why did I do that? You might even get
Like
mad at
mad at
yourself.
yourself.
Because
Yeah.
I got mad at myself and be like, well, why would you? It's not even his fault. It's really
It's
your fault
not.
because you allowed
Yeah.
it. So this is on you. So once you allow all of that to like run its course, then you create these higher frequency standards that you may not was voicing before because the magnetism was so strong and you
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to even go about it. Because once again, like we shared before, this is new. All of these connections are new. Nobody has a book except for Gary Zukav on spiritual connections. I gotta put him out there. On real spiritual connections, and how we should go about moving with them. But it doesn't even go as deep as sharing. Of course, we have YouTube videos and people are talking about various perspectives, but I really would like people to go a little bit deeper into like what we're doing on various aspects of the connection
Yeah.
and what you're going to see, what you're going to feel, what you're going to experience, so you can be aware when it comes to that time, and you'll know when you're in it what it is. And then
Yeah.
you'll know how to actually work about it. Because, like I said before, it was like about 5 or 6 months, and I hadn't talked to him. He had nothing. I think he maybe had texted me twice or something, and I was good because I had got my. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, yeah, like I'd
Yeah.
had proposals and everything within the time frame. So it just gave me the understanding of like, hey, I'm not taking this shit no more.
Right.
And I'm gonna let you take, but after that, after feeling like that, I'm gonna share a little bit later about what happens after that.
Yeah. To me, what I have experienced within these, just like she said, the masculine energy is that masculine that you really are healing the masculine within. And so that masculine that's showing up in front of you is your masculine energy pushed out. They're going to show up in a way of what needs to be healed within you so that you can become the greatest version of yourself. And so I had experiences where I would meet different versions of my masculine energy. I would meet high versions and I would meet toxic versions. Like it was all of these different versions of me that needed to be healed. And so, what we were talking about before we became on live, um, we were because it's so good to have a sisterhood, and that's what I hope that this podcast brings together a sisterhood of women who are open and ready to heal those things within them so that they can become the greatest versions of themselves, not only for themselves, but also for their mate as well. Because just like we depend on our masculines to heal themselves, they depend on us as well, so that we can be that light for them as they're going through their version or their part of their process or their healing journey. um and so all of when you attract that masculine to you, what I have noticed is that every time we have come together, from the very first beginning, that very first beginning was like that starting point, and it was like the most toxic part of that journey. And then once I released that version of myself that accepted that from him, and I got okay with not allowing not allowing him to treat me in a certain way or handle me a certain way, then I would meet another version, the next version of him once we came back together. And it's almost like as soon as you jump that timeline or you release that old self, then now the work starts to be done, and then it starts to show up in your reality. So I noticed that every time we separated and we released those old versions of ourselves, the new version would also present itself in my masculine energy. And so um what we are doing during that separation period is releasing that version of ourselves that accepted those things from that masculine energy. Um, this is not your enemy, even though sometimes you feel like like how dare you, the audacity, you know, but it's really not them, it's you, because you're the one accepting that part of them. Um, and like she said, you have to be okay with releasing that. And a lot of times we like to hold on to that version of that masculine because we want to hold on to this version of ourselves, not realizing that you are delaying the process in the journey by doing that. That cycle is going to constantly repeat itself and repeat itself and repeat itself, and you're going to start to see like I told y'all before, it would frustrate me the fact that I would still be in I would notice I'm like, I'm in the same dynamic, you know. So um as you begin to be okay with letting go and releasing that old version of yourself, then the masculine can now present the new version of himself. And every time there is always something that has shown me that he is in transformation, that things are transforming. And now I don't want people to get this mistaken, like we are trying to change these men into what we want them to be, into how we want them to be. This is not about that. This is about solely healing the parts of them that have trauma attached to them. They don't want to hold on to trauma just like you don't want to hold on to trauma. They don't want to suffer just like you don't want to suffer. And as human beings, we have created a lot of suffering for ourselves. And it's not solely our fault, but it is your fault because when you become aware of yourself and then you don't fix it, or you don't try to do anything to go within and heal this part of you. So as we are healing ourselves and healing those versions of ourselves that were accepted and releasing them, you can't hold on to that version. You are always going to elevate and become a new version of yourself. You should always want to be the best you can be, because if when all of this boils down, this is about you and your journey and what it is that you need in order to become that version of yourself that you see before you go to sleep, that version of yourself that we have idols that we had growing up. They weren't idols just because we liked that character that they were playing. They had characteristics that we wanted to see in ourselves. And so as we are learning and growing, this is all about growing. As we are learning and growing, the masculine energy, and the card wants to flip out, strength card. Let me show it to you guys. I don't know if y'all can see it, but that's a strength card. Okay, he's running on this strength card. So gaining his strength, okay? But that is what we are doing. It causes a lot of strength. It is a lot of strength that to transform and to transmute that energy and to create the new version. We are always supposed to be creating that new version of ourselves and channeling that old energy into something new. Okay, so once you have released that old version of yourself and are presented with that new version, that masculine is going to come back into you. You're going to magnetize him back to you, and it's up to you because you're going to be tested, and it's not nobody else testing, it's you testing you. Once that masculine come back, they're going to test you to see if you are going to still accept that old version of them. um and sometimes we do, which brings us back again to ourselves. Even after you have created the new version and you called your power back and you've, done healing work, then sometimes you see where you need to do a little bit more healing, because you still can't, that you called your power back, you regained your power, but you didn't receive the power because you have still accepted this masculine for as the old version of himself. Your mindset is still thinking like he's the old version. You're even if you've gone through some type of growth process, it still seems like you're still accepting him. You're still not speaking up for yourself. You're still not telling him what you need, what you want out of this relationship. It doesn't matter if he doesn't want that, then he moves around and you have to be okay with that. But if he does want that, you're going to see the new version step forward because you're no longer accepting the old version of him. So I like that we had talked about that beforehand, because a lot of times when I'm in the middle of healing work, doing healing on myself in a grieving process or whatever it may be, I tend to be engulfed in that energy, and I end up like forgetting the tools that I have in my toolbox. And that's why it's so good to have a sisterhood, because we bring each other back um to ourselves. Like, we help each other to elevate to the next level, because we're not going to remember everything all the time. Sometimes it takes us a little bit longer, especially when you have other things on your mind and you're going through other things. This right here helps you to be like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can release this energy because this energy is no longer serving me, so why am I holding on to it, you know?
Exactly. And looking at that, that's the biggest question. That is how you're able to let go the old version of yourself. That's the question you have to ask. Why was
Why?
I even holding on to a connection that only served one part of it, not both parts? I wasn't being served. Why? So it makes you dig a little bit deeper into who you are and
Mm-hmm.
what you're accepting and where does this come from. I even had to do some looking into it myself. Like, where is this come from that I accepted this from him?
Yeah.
Like, why did I accept this from him? And one part of it was I accepted this from him because of the deep emotions that I felt for him and the magnetic energy. I'm like, because I ain't accept nothing from nobody else. I would have been like, move on.
Yeah,
But why
exactly.
did I accept it? So I looked at that. I was like, okay, so there's something deeper here than I
Mm.
understand. But at the same time, it's still not for you to allow this to happen. And my mind reflected, I think I shared with you all on episode 2 or 3 or wherever, where when I would sleep next to him, I would have dreams about him. And I shared with you all around about the first time we started dating. And I would sleep on the couch with him. And his soul spoke to my soul and was telling me, you don't let nobody treat you any kind of way. Like, I don't care. I don't even care if it's me. And I
Yeah.
reflected back on that because I'm like, that was the biggest message, even though I didn't know at that time what that was referring to, something that was going to happen 2.5 years later. Like, I didn't have a clue what he was speaking to at the soul level, his soul to mine while we were asleep, was something that he was alluding me to that was going to occur in 2022. Like I had no clue. This happened in like 2018, 2019, and then we have this occurrence in 2022. Didn't know that, but it brought me back to that. Was like, okay, I need this time by myself. And
Yeah.
sometimes we do need more time because and we'll be like, well, this is so strong, but like, no, I need this time to myself to pour back into myself so I can see what it was that, and I want some things, and just ask, whoever sit at your altar and speak to, or however you send out energy and receive, who you receive energy from, just ask them, show me what
Yeah.
I am not seeing. Because with my physical eyes and my consciousness level at this point, I'm not able to see everything I need to see that needs to be corrected within me. So
Right.
allow those things to be shown. When those things are shown, help me to work on these things so I can be stronger. That's part of taking your power back, because just like we need the sisterhood, we need the ancestorhood, we need
Yeah.
the spiritual guidehood, we need
Yeah.
sources, we need all of these things, because we're just these souls trying to figure it out in this physical form. And
Right.
sometimes we'll get so caught up because we are more physical than anything in this realm that we have to see outside of ourselves. So reflecting on, if I saw this relationship with someone else, how would I feel about that person
Yeah.
being treated by the other person? Looking at it outside of yourself. And
Yeah.
what would you say about, and I would just sit in my altar and just, hit some mushroom tincture and just have these conversations with myself to figure out all of the work that needs to be done. So like when we say you got to release these old versions of yourself, you got to release these old timelines, that comes with what they call the dark night of the soul and shadow work and all of that. But plain and simple, because I don't even like using all that term, you need to go look within yourself and figure out why you accept certain things or why you block certain things. Because sometimes people aren't accepting, they're blocking. And
Mhm.
sometimes the people blocking, they're not accepting. So wherever you fall on the spectrum, then you sit with yourself, you ask for a higher consciousness or higher self, whoever it is, to give you a revelation of these things, of what needs to be changed. What do I need to change? Because see, when you ask for those changes to occur, you shift. That's when the shift occurs. Because now I'm just not looking at outward occurrences. I'm looking at inward occurrences, and I'm trying to make the balance of my physical being go in balance with my soul. I want that to be what is the connection. I want me to look beyond just this other individual, but what it is for me to ascend to my soul level that I need to start working on, because my goal is ascension. So
That's
when
right.
we do that, that's when I go back to the spiritual partnership, like what I talk about Gary Zukav all the time, is because when you do that work, that divine masculine could or could not, excuse me, be doing that work, no matter, excuse me, if he is or isn't, no matter if he is or isn't, if you evolve, you're gonna draw in what's a match for you at that point.
That's
So whatever you have done the work on to bring forth, like if you doing the work and you're changing and you releasing that old timeline, you releasing that, and if he's over here, he's doing the work and he really wholeheartedly is changing, then yes, the connection will come back. But if one person is doing the work, but then the other person is choosing not, because we don't, everybody has free will.
you never
That's
know.
why we say, hey, all I know is that I'm changing and evolving. So within the spiritual partnership, whatever that looks like, whether it's still within this connection or it's within another connection with someone else, it doesn't matter. I'm in alignment for the best version of myself to be connected with the best version of my divine masculine so
Yeah.
that we can flourish and be together. So, like I told when I got back, whether it's with you, sir, or not, I'm going to get what's coming to me because I know what I'm worth. And I know when we got back together, like that was my whole attitude. And I didn't have a issue with voicing it at that point because I had sat with myself. And so just sitting with myself, and even some laying in the bed crying with myself, and,
Mhm.
just cooking and just being around the house and just laying around and just allow the energy to mourn out of you, because you got to allow it to mourn and then get out of you, and that goes through a process. So that's part of taking your power back, is like you were saying, releasing that old timeline. But for me, it was really sitting with myself, asking myself these questions. What do I feel like I'm lacking? Why do I feel like I'm not good enough?
That's the
Why?
key.
Yeah,
Ask yourself the questions,
asking yourself
the
those questions.
hard questions,
Yeah,
and
why
being
I feel
honest.
like I'm good enough? Why I'm good enough, but why do I feel like I'm not good enough to be, or worthy enough? Like what was that in me that made me feel like I wasn't good enough? You
And would
know,
I accept this from him? Would I want him? Would I accept if I was him and if the tables were turned, would I want him to accept me like that? You know, like
mm-hmm.
we have to ask those questions. Those are not the easy questions.
Yeah. And that's when things turned around in my life. Because honestly, one of the things during that time was my finances was fucked up. Like my finances was not where I wanted my finances to be. It just really wasn't. I wanted to work from home. I wanted a home job. I'm like, I really want to work from home, and I want to be making this. This is what I need to be making. So,
Yeah.
got that whole time while we went. I was like, my main issue was the fact that I didn't feel financially secure on where I was at that point in my life. Like that point in my life, I wasn't where I wanted to be financially with what I had. And I knew I needed better. This is not something you can give to me. This is not something you can do for me. Attaching to you is not gonna make it work. This is something that I had to do. So that whole time we were apart, I put so much energy into, I'm talking about from morning, noon to night, my energy was into remote job. Like that's the only thing I was doing until I got one. And then I secured another one. So it was just like, okay, now when I had got myself financially connected, that even empowered me. That
Mm-hmm.
empowered me to be like, okay, because when my finances wasn't, and we know when our finances ain't we want to be, we're a little meek. We're a little meek,
Yeah.
we're a little shy, because we know we ain't where we want to be. But when your cup runneth over, then
Yeah.
you like shit. I'm good. Like with or without you, like I know that I'm gonna get, and I don't want to say it like it's all about money. I'm just saying for me, what it was for me was that financial piece that was missing. And once I got that, and then he came back, it was like throat chakra came alive too, because my confidence had built up on what I could have. And I felt like I was on even a different level of caliber of men that I knew. I'm like, I'm a highly spiritual person. Plus, my cup is runneth over. So at the end of the day, either you is gonna get with it or you're not, because universe is gonna allow someone to come to me that is supposed to at this point. Because now I got the confidence and that power back that I was lacking because the coins wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we also have to realize too that these are contracts that you signed way before you got here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can, I don't know. I don't even think that these contracts can be broken because of the work that we have come here to do. I've heard people say that, you can go and tear them up, but I honestly don't think that they can be broken, because I remember my very first time ever, like, real deal being hurt by my divine masculine. And it wasn't even nothing that he actually did. It was actually like the workings of someone else. And so, and I remember sitting in my car and crying out loud, because not only was I um now dealing with this situation, I hadn't dealt with the mourning process of the marriage that I had before him. So those emotions came flooding in along with this. And so I remember sitting in my car crying out, and all of a sudden the sky just opened up and it started raining, right? And I remember saying, I don't want this no more. I don't want this no more. I don't want this no more. And he texted me on the phone as soon as I said that and said, "What did you just do?" And so our words really do have power. um and these contracts that we have together, we made these contracts together for both of us to become the greatest versions of ourselves. And so when you are these dynamics, I saw something today that said, finish what you start. Finish what you started. If you start this journey, finish what you start, because you are going to be amazed at how the blessings from what the work that you have done pours into your life. Like, every time me and my masculine go into that separation phase or whatever, there is like Dina said, her money wasn't right. Okay, well, my money wasn't right. It wasn't where I wanted it to be. And at that time, I was just like, you know, he was helping me and all of that, but it wasn't, I didn't have the confidence within myself to be secure, to be like, okay, I'm still not where I want to be at. And it's not you, it's me, you know what I'm saying? But I had to also realize too that sometimes when we hold on to those versions of ourselves, you delay your blessings. And so as soon as I would let go, then all of a sudden the universe would let me know that I was doing the right thing, because everything that was delayed or that had been taken away from me during that process literally came right back to me. And it didn't take long for it to happen. I'm talking about weeks, days, these things would happen. Um, that's how we know when we are holding on to something that is not serving us. Everything gets delayed. Like your money gets delayed, your the job that you want gets delayed, your opportunities are get delayed. Like you get to a point where you be like, okay, like universe, like hold on now. I just was making this amount of money. Now this, like I'm talking about things that would happen um you can't get to the point where some bills you can't pay. Like I'm talking about when you hold on tight, the universe shows you that you holding on to something that is not serving you, a version of yourself that is not serving you, and also not serving that person that you are connected to. Because if you are not growing as the divine feminine, that person is not growing either. And this does not just happen with the divine masculine. This happens with everything around you. If you stunt
Exactly.
your own growth, then you stunt the growth of all of the things and all of the seeds that you have planted before this time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's better when we become aware of ourselves and we become aware of what the universe is trying to teach us, and we learn how to let go and actually go within. And I know you hear people say that all the time, go within, go within, go within. Well, it's a reason why we are nailing and planting that seed continuously into the collective, because you need that. What do they say? Hard head, what is this? Hard head make a soft ass. When
Mm-hmm.
you're not paying attention to the signs, you're not paying attention to what you're doing in this moment, and you don't know why you being delayed. Well, the universe is going to come back and let you know, like, you holding on to what in your reality is not serving you right now. And only way to find that out is to become aware by going within yourself and looking at you, like, what is within me right now that's causing this delay? What am I doing wrong, or what am I not doing? Those things, when those things start to come up, tell the universe thank you, and continue and start to move forward. Let go and start to move forward. Surrender, 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 and start to move forward. The more you move forward, the more you can, the faster you can get to what it is that you're trying to get to. But the longer you hold tight is the longer you're going to be delayed from your blessings, or from what actual goal you are trying to reach or meet. um so these are valuable lessons within these dynamics, and you will hear your masculine say it too. Like, it's not like it's just us and on our end. You will start to hear them like, I was listening to you when you said this, and that's all I was thinking about when we were split up, about this and about that. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's somehow getting into that seed that you're planting, is getting in them. And not only is that seed being planted, for them to become the greatest, it's also so it can be brought back to you, so you can also be reminded of the things that you are planting in this season. Because a lot of times we plant seeds and then we forget, you know. So as long when that masculine energy brings that back to you, well, you planted this seed within me. Not gonna say it exactly like that. They might say it in different ways, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. They able to bring it back and be like, well, you planted this seed in me about this, and this, and I thought about that, and you were right about that, or I didn't agree at first, but now I'm seeing what you were talking about, and I'm still trying to get it. They still are in transformation, um on working on themselves and whatever they need in their reality to actually be able to create a harmonious and peaceful stage for themselves.
And I want to go back to what you said about contracts. Because yes, we have created contracts, and we also have created what I see as um, we have different things playing out at the same time. So, like right now, I have a timeline where I'm I am married to my child's father. I also have a timeline where I'm still connected and with my high school boyfriend. Like these
Mhm.
are other contracts that I feel like have occurred in different timelines and existences, and it's not something that's just gonna go away. I
Um,
feel like each timeline has an objective that
mhm.
it has to meet of why we're playing out what we're playing out in this particular timeline. Like it's something that we have to connect with a particular divine masculine within this timeline, because there's a particular mission that once we get past all of this, what we're talking about now, and we start to have more conversations on the ascended partnership, then that gets more into the mission of why you all need to be together in order to work on the whole frequency of this planet and what you're here to do. So, yes, these are contracts.
Mhm.
But all of these contracts, I feel like, have been created to bring about a certain vibration, a certain frequency within the timelines in which they exist. So, within the timeline that I'm still with my high school boyfriend or my child's father, is a reason that I'm still there within that timeline with him to bring about certain awarenesses that'll even be downloaded into me here in this timeline, and
Mhm.
different things that I'm doing here also reflects on what I'm doing there in that timeline. And then there's some type of, I can't really explain, but there's some type of frequency why we're connected, because we talked about this, I believe, last week, why we are connected with these partnerships, these individuals we're with in these partnerships. It's not by happenstance. Like we're together for a motive that is way much more higher than we
Yeah.
probably even can conceive with our level of consciousness right now. Like what why we have to be together goes way past the emotional aspect of it. It even go past even what work we feel like we're doing for our person, for
Mhm.
us. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's the very first foundational level of it. Like once you get past of healing yourself and letting that old person go of yourself, and healing that trauma, that inner child, and then reconnecting. Once you get past all of that, which healing is always ongoing, but it's various states that are laying dormant that we have to go back and retrieve and snatch out that programming. So once we do that, and then we come back, and the divine masculine has been doing that in his own way, plus the womb work that we do makes it a little bit more powerful, like what you're saying, like we're working on ourselves and them, because
Mm,
we have womb energy. It makes it a little bit more, I would say, powerful in our regard, because we can take things in and transform and transmute
yeah,
that energy, and we can work on all realms. So with us doing that here with us, then we're connecting and doing that for him too. So when we do come back together, then we get mission focused, and that's when it goes beyond, like, and then you can start to see, like, even now, even after I've taken my power back, there's still aspects of me that I still have to retrieve back
yeah,
from childhood or whatever, that he kind of brings up in our just regular conversation, that he doesn't even know that he's doing, because it ain't really even him doing it. Because I don't even look at him as doing anything. Like
yeah,
I always
yeah,
look at, like, the universe as working through this vessel. Like I was trying to share with him last week, like trying to get him to understand the way that I think is very different than the thought processes that he's probably used to. So, yes, I feel like I am not talking to you. I'm talking to a higher self, or even your guys, who I'm directly connecting with your soul, that is coming to teach me, because as I learn and do these things, then I'm ascending the partnership, I'm ascending the connection. So these things have to be brought to my awareness, however it comes, but when it's done through the partner, then that's helping both of us, and then we can really ascend. So yeah, those contracts are definitely in place. And I don't, and like you were saying, like, breaking a contract ain't something that you can just do. And
yeah.
I feel like these contracts and this destiny has already been preordained.
That's
Like,
what
this
I
is,
be saying. Like, how you can break something that's
yeah,
already
it's
predestined.
it's it's already predestined. Like, this is already, what we created, because we are gods. This is something we already created. Like, it was created in whatever existence, before I even was in a physical form, that I needed to get with this energy, because these two energies come together, and then they are able to do this. So that's why we were saying we're going to see more and more of these connections, because when these different energies start to come and connect, then their output, you got to look at input, you got to look at output. So these energies coming together are actually outputting another frequency that's going out into this atmosphere, into this planet, and then within this universe, in the multiverse, and beyond. So the
Mhm.
more that we have these connections, the more of the vibrational energy that we're raising all around us. So that's why I feel like once we get past this part, then we're going to be able to be awakened to a whole
Yeah,
new level of why we're even together anyway.
yeah.
Like
You
we
go
together,
together.
but
Yeah,
we together for a whole nother. And once it's revealed, once we have that revelation of what that is, that's why I don't even like say like marriage and all this kind of stuff, because this is like, Paris, like I think about the wires, like within TV and radio, like the red and the blue wire. Like, it's almost like these wirings have to connect in order for that electricity to flow. Like, you
yeah,
got to, even like on the battery, when you got to boost the car off, you got the red and the black. Like, they got to work together. They're
yeah,
partners. Like, you can't just put the red on, not the black. You can't just put the black and not
yeah,
the red. They got to work together in order to jumpstart that battery. That's an energy input. Like, that's what I feel like with these partnerships. This
yeah,
energy come together outputs a higher frequency. So
yeah,
with us doing this, these contracts are real. These energy connections are what we're talking about when we say these contracts. They're really energetic connections that have to take its course and place within the timelines in which they have to, because all of them are working together as one to
yeah.
bring about a certain frequency.
Yeah. And like you said with the timelines, it's like there is a timeline where you and this masculine are already married, or y'all already have this life that you are trying to bring together, right? And so The thing about it is that if it's already predestined, preordained, the work that you're doing now helps you to get to that timeline, to bring that timeline into your reality so that you can actually be living out that timeline. And the reason why we are working and doing the work that we're doing is so that we can reach that timeline, so that we can create that highest vibration, that highest frequency. Um, um, so that we can both be at our highest. And that's where the answer is. Like, that's where the answer to these connections are, is on that highest frequency. Is at the highest frequency, at the highest peak of the mountain, and all of these timelines are working simultaneously. I like how you put it, how you said that I had a timeline where I was married, and I have a timeline where, when you go to sleep at night, you dream about these timelines. You see these timelines sometimes in your dreams. So you know that these timelines are out there and they're possible. But why do we know that they're possible? Why do we know to do the work within this connection? Because it already exists on another timeline, on the highest timeline. And so we are doing the work that puts us in our highest frequency so that we can actually receive the big picture, because it's really not about us, but it's about the mission that we have come here to do in order to raise the frequency of others that are also coming up. I believe that once these connections actually start to blossom out and they start to be public and people can see them, and we're looking at them, because right now these connections are kind of far few in between. You don't meet a lot of people that are just interested in actually doing the work on themselves and doing the work, and you have some people who completely avoid these contracts, and you can tell that they are avoiding these contracts because you can still see that they're stuck on a timeline. That's like, I don't want to be stuck on a certain timeline. I want to keep elevating to the highest timeline so that I can actually get that clarity and that awareness of what we are actually here um to do within these connections, because whatever it is powerful and we feel it. This is why we keep magnetizing back to each other. Sometimes people don't walk in and out your life, and it's because that's a dog ass nigga and he don't mean no good. She ain't no good. She this, she this, she that. A lot of times it's not even that. It's because that person real deal refuses to do the work on themselves to get the answers. Because I always gain clarity when it comes to these connections. You're gonna always get the clarity that you can actually receive in the timeline that you're in. Every time we go to another timeline, there's another form of an unveiling that we come to, and that it becomes kind of exciting, if you ask me. I got excited about it because you like, oh, okay, I get some more information. You know what I'm saying? Like, you graduating, you going to college, you going through all these different phases and stages, but in all these different timelines, because the timeline where we first met, that's a completely different timeline. We have several times, I mean thousands probably. There's no telling how many timelines that we have, because we jump. The more we elevate, the more we work on ourselves, the faster we jump, the more we jump, if you ask me. So I really like how you put that with the timelines, because it is true. This already exists. It's the reason this is what's driving the connection in the first place. If it didn't exist, that's how you got men, like you said, you had those men that came to you that was showing you all of these different things, and those men were in that timeline that you were in that moment, right? So it's like, but you weren't interested in those men, because those timelines are not like, those timelines, you're not meant to be on those timelines with those men. The reason why you have this magnetic connection to this masculine, and first of all, the divine masculine is within. Okay, so the reason why we know this is it's almost like the kundalini, like how the kundalini travels through the chakra system, and how those chakra systems, if you ask me, are like timelines. They're different dimensions. Each one of them does their own work. We have to do different work on each one of those, on each one of those chakras. It's not the same work. They don't mean the same things. Each one, as you come up the chakra system, you gain enlightenment once you get to the crown chakra. You know what I'm saying? So that's where we're going to reach that enlightenment, when both of those snakes start to reach the crown chakra, and we become enlightened together. But they have to rise together. They cannot rise separately. That it doesn't, you don't reach enlightenment like that. So it's the same way with the masculine energy. If he just refuses to, or she refuses to elevate and change their ways, guess what? That's them, not you. That has nothing to do with you. It's nothing that you did. That's them. They are not ready, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to keep rising and moving forward. You know, if you have trust, and you also have to trust too, because when you have trust in these contracts, you have trust in your own divine team, your own divinity, your own ancestors, your higher powers, your sources that you tap into. You should know that this is, you cannot, like, you can't, like, I don't know how to explain it, like, not to say that you can't mess it up, because I mean the only thing that's going to mess it up is you. But to, you can't, what am I trying to say? That phone call just made me lose my train of thought.
Ah, and they threw you out.
Yeah, but as you are rising, yeah, if your partner doesn't want to ascend, that has nothing to do with you. You keep ascending, because there is gonna, the highest representation of your divine masculine within is gonna meet you.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a contract. It might not be attached to the person that you're seeing in that, you know, in the masculine that you chose, but this person, that divine masculine within you, is gonna ascend. Maybe they were just supposed to leave on that timeline. Maybe they weren't supposed to go to that next timeline with you. We don't know. You know, we won't know that until both the snakes reach the ground chakra.
Exactly. And that's the whole thing. Like, you got to be open and allowing. Like, you
Yeah.
can't be closed off to what the universe has going on moving forward, because
Yeah.
we don't know what we don't know. So the thing about it is, you wouldn't even know about the divine masculine you would now if you was with somebody else before, you know. So I got to a point where I'm disconnected from the physical form. Like, I'm
Yeah.
only connected to what it is that I know I'm doing within me. That's my only focus. Like, I know if I'm working on me and I'm constantly doing what I need to do, I'm treating people right, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do to be a good person around me, to the youth and everything else, or whatever it looks like for you, then you know that that energy is going to be reflected and
Yeah.
reciprocated back to you. Just like you were saying with the caduceus, like you got Ida and Pingala. You know, that's why I'm trying to say, like, Ida and Pingala is connected to the central nervous system. That's electricity. To me, when those two snakes go up to the crown, like, that's our whole goal. Right now, like you were sharing with that, it's just like the Kundalini energy. Right now, what we're sharing with you with Ida and Pingala, with the divine masculine, divine feminine energy, is what we're talking about pretty much down at the root and the sacral energy is what we're talking about right now. We haven't even got up to the solar and the heart at this point. So a lot of things that we're talking about right now, when it comes down to the raising of that kundalini energy up to the crown, and we're referring to those two as divine masculine, divine feminine, as the same thing, because that's all it is. We're just a physical form, Eden and Pingala, but it's the same thing of the kundalini energy. But what we're working in right now, within what we've been sharing with spells, attachments, not you, it's me, taking your power back, is coming from starting at the root chakra, going
Yes.
up to the sacral chakra. So we're just right here, right? So we
Yes.
haven't got up to like the solar plexus and then balancing with the heart. So once we get up to that, that's when we start talking about the higher frequency connection. But we got to get past, you know, really healing that root part of
Yeah.
ourselves, which is
Yeah.
also healing that reflection, and then moving on to that circle energy. And that's a lot of what we're sharing. If you're looking at it from that perspective, is us doing that healing work within our own system, with our own nadis, within our own chakras, with our own sephiroth, with our own netaru, getting up to the crown chakra of what we need to do for the healing work within. And if you choose not to, like you were saying before, hey, you can choose not to and try to hang on, and then other things will occur for
Yes.
you to get out of the connection to do the work. So it's just like all the rest of our journeys that we've had within this dimension that we know. You may hear a story about, like, you don't need to do this, and then you do it anyway. Or I know I shouldn't have went over there, and then your intuitive nature tell you not to go left, and you drive right, and then this is a wreck on the intersection. Like, we already know, and then or you be like, okay, I keep doing this, I keep going out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and keep going out, and I know people out here jacking at night, and I'm at night. Then you end up be like, ooh, I heard somebody. Second time it may be, oh, I got to Rick. Third time it may be you, because you've had all of these different instances of, like, trying to give you warning signs to stop and get out of that so you can make sure that you're good. And the same thing with the connection. Like, you'll get signs for you to get out so you can get and do the healing works to make sure that you're good. But if you ignore those signs that source is trying to show you, then they just get louder and louder and louder till you
Mm.
can't stand the noise anymore. And then you'll get out, and then you'll do the work so that when you all come together, it'll be a connection. So we're just sharing with you, hey, these are the things you need to do anyway. Now, if you go into a connection, we're just sharing what we've shared, but you may go into a connection where you've done a lot of the traumatic healing
Yeah.
work. You may go into a connection where you already jump into a heart chakra relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't even want people to think that you'll start off at the root. You may have
Exactly.
done so much work that you jump right at the heart. You
Yes.
can,
You start
and where,
feeling it what you need.
yeah, you've done what you need for you. He may have done what he needed to do too, because I know different partnerships and connections where people come straight in at the heart, and then they can go to come together and ascend to the crown because they've already done that work. But if
Yeah.
you haven't, the universe is not going to say you're not going to get your Ida and Pingala. You still going to get Ida and Pingala. You still gonna be Ida, you still gonna be Pingala, but y'all gonna start here instead of start here. So it's gonna be a little bit more trying for you to go through that work that you didn't do on your own, and doing that with your partner, with this contract with your partner, because you all are now working at the hardest realm together. It's hard working on the root. It's
Ooh,
hard working on
get to
that
the root
sacral.
of the problem.
Yeah, the root of the problem. Like, getting to that with somebody else, not just by yourself, that's really hard work, right? So if you somebody that say, hey, I want to be by myself, I really want to work on, I commend those people, because when you do come into a partnership, you're going to come up at a higher frequency. You're going to come up at a higher level within this tree, within this divine energy that we are. Even if you want to look at them as chakra systems or energy systems, you're going to come up higher than someone who didn't do all the work then, that's now working together, and that's already preordained too. So
Mhm.
it just depends on, if you somebody who meet, who you supposed to be with in high school. Sometimes people meet who they supposed to be with, they married forever since high school, and
Yeah.
they just together, and they learn how to work on everything that they need to do together throughout their lifetime, right? So it just depends on where you end up coming in. But I didn't want people to think like, oh, it got to be like, I ain't
No.
got that. Like, it may not be that for you. We're just sharing our experiences, and it could come in at such a higher level than what we're sharing. And
Mm,
that is a partnership just as well as what we're sharing. So
yeah.
we're just sharing what we've been through and what you could possibly look into having going on, starting at the root going up. So we want to take you from all levels, not just jumping straight into the heart chakra, moving up.
And you can also start, like if you start at the heart chakra, there are some times where you might have to go down to the root chakra and do some work because you found out that your partner might have some trauma from when they were a child that is not, that you just didn't know about. But like my
Exactly.
mom and my daddy, I
Mm-hmm.
believe that when they met each other in college, that it really did start out as a heart chakra. They were connected heart to heart because of the way they tell their love story, right? And then I noticed that as a child, the things that I noticed as a child, that there were some times where they were in the root chakra. They were dealing with stuff in the root chakra, whether it be trauma, addictions, whatever it may be, there was something within them that needed to be healed, or somehow they got off of track and they had to be put back on track. But that heart chakra energy is what helped them to be like, okay, we then got to the root chakra. Now now we got to work our way back up. And that you can find that in connections where you see people, they're so loving to each other and they love each other so much. But then all of a sudden one person falls off track, and then now the connection is kind of off, and or they split up, and then they come
Yeah.
back together later on, so it's this has no limitations. There is no limitations to the amount of or how these connections can come about and work. The main objective is to do the work. Don't ignore the work. Ignoring the work is ignoring yourself, and you are not giving yourself that love and that self-care that you need in order to ascend. So as long as you are avoiding the work, you are avoiding the healing, and you are avoiding that new timeline that you are so desperately trying to get to. Your money is going to be affected. Things are going to be affected to show you that you're not in the right. Now that's not all the time, because sometimes our money is affected because there needs to be a delay in order for certain things to happen so that we can, progress and ascend to a next level. But if you are in a situation where you are dealing with a partner that is, you can tell is not ascending, and you are accepting things that that is not of divine feminine quality, then you need to allow that connection to release and move to the next level, or heal yourself first and then move to the next level. It's just not one thing or one way that these things happen. It's multiple ways, and different types of connections. Like we told you before, you can find these in mothers and sons, sons and daughter. I mean, fathers and daughters. You know, there's to me there might be no limitation, because it all of this is about healing the bloodline, healing trauma, healing yourselves. So we heal ourselves in all different types of ways, and we are all on different separate timelines simultaneously working to heal whatever it is that needs to be healed within us so that we can ascend to the next level.
Exactly. And one of the things, like what you were saying, like if you ignore it, like you can choose, like I was saying, you can choose to ignore. It's just gonna get louder and louder.
Ooh, it's gonna get loud.
um yeah,
Ooh,
or
it's
you
gonna get loud.
know, because it's already going to happen.
Mm,
So don't ignore, especially if you're already on a spiritual path. You should already have the mindset. If you're new on the journey, it may be a little bit more difficult for you, but if you've been on the journey for a while, you'll recognize it. And you need to already kind of see those things in you. Like if you've been on this spiritual path, and I think men have it. Men are good at doing this, women not so much, but men are good at saying they're not ready because they know it's shit that they need to get together before they get with a woman.
and you can't fake being ready.
Huh?
You can't fake being ready.
You can't fake being ready. But women, either we ignore it or we don't know. Because
Hmm.
we'll get into a relationship with somebody when we know there's some work that I need to really work on. Like I really need to work on, the relationship I had with my dad, it wasn't good. Or,
Hmm.
you could be somebody from a single parent household and your daddy wasn't there. And now you have father male issues because you never had a male around. So you really don't even know how to come into a relationship because you're coming from a standpoint of not even seeing a masculine energy with your mother, growing up. So you don't even know, once you have this type of relationship, you don't even know how to nurture it.
Yeah.
So that's coming from an unhealed place of not even knowing how to nurture your divine masculine, especially if you're somebody who's with someone who's caring for you, who's nurturing you, who's loving on you, and he's really, there for you, yet you're pulling back, yet you don't understand why you don't want to be, and you feel this draw, but then you feel like you need, because you didn't understand what a male is supposed to do and the loving aspect, so you don't feel like you're good enough to be loved. So I
Yeah.
know it's women that's out there as well that's been through those traumatic experiences, or maybe have gone through molestations, may have been raped by someone, a male energy in their family, or someone who was close to the family. Like if you're going through, rape, or you coming through, being molested, or
Being
domestic violence
too.
abuse, like
Yeah.
all of that will have you closed off to being in your divine partnership. So recognize that if you're not there, if you don't tell him, I need time to really heal on myself. And even if your divine masculine is real loving, where he can understand, you can connect, share with him and let him know, like, hey, don't be closed off. Hey, I was raped, and I have an issue with really being with the man the way I'm supposed to, and I'm working on that. Like, share that with him. If you was molested by somebody in your family, like, share that, because a lot of women, I know we used to have healing and accountability academy, where we were helping women, and almost every woman that came through there had been raped or molested. So I'm bringing this up because, or domestic violence, like this is something that we're gonna go through. That's what we're gonna go through, either domestic violence, almost rape, or molestation. I've been in all three, so I can talk about all three. So my
Right.
thing is, if you haven't gone through that healing aspect of it and cleared that out, where you're able to really be in a relationship and understand what it looks like with that nurturing energy, and not be closed off because what has happened to you in your past, then you need to do some reflection on yourself. And this can go for either side, divine masculine, divine feminine. If you've been in anything that's been that traumatic in your life, then that goes through its own healing cycle to
Yeah.
flush that even out of your spirit, because it has to be flushed out, and not look at yourself as a victim. And I know I've shared this before, and people they can feel whatever type of way about it. I don't really care, because like I said before, I've been in all three. So it was an alignment within you that even caused the rape to happen to you. There was an alignment within me that caused my kidnapping and my rape. There was an alignment within me. So we can't always say like, oh, they shouldn't did it. No, they shouldn't have. But it was within the energy that I was holding within me, in either in this timeline or another. We don't know. You may want to call it past life or whatever, but it has happened. So you may say, hey, children don't deserve to get molested and raped. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how they bring that to them? I don't know what has happened in a past life energy with them. I don't know what they said that they agreed upon, my energy and my physical form having that experience, in order to even have this conversation now to help somebody else on their journey. Like, a lot of things we go through is not just because, oh, woe is me. You may be able to agree to go through it so you can help and share and may help somebody else with it. So
Yeah.
yes, I was molested at 3 years old. Yes, I was raped at 19. These are things that I have talked with my partner about, and we've had conversations on this, so he understands. So if you're not even at that point where you can talk about it and have that conversation, then do know that you still in a point in your life where you don't even need to be with somebody. You need to be able to freely talk about what happened to you and understand it from an energetic standpoint, without breaking down, without crying. If you talk about, your rape situation, every time you talk about it, you're crying, then that lets you know that you're still not over it. Like, you still allowing that person that raped you to have the power. So that
Yeah.
still goes into healing, because I can get up on stage and share with people what has happened to me, and I don't cry. I don't have, and people be like, oh, and I understand, because from a 3D perspective, emotional perspective, that's how we feel in that regard. But
Yeah.
from a spiritual level, you look at it from a different space. So you're able to understand a little bit deeper of why things have occurred. So do know, you'll still have to go through more healing time if needed, if you've been through these very sensitive type. And I'm not downplaying like, oh, you've been raped, don't matter. No, I'm just saying that I've been through it. So get to sit with yourself to understand why it happened, where energy level and what mindset you were in at that time of attracting these things to you,
Yeah.
and what you need to cleanse out of you from having those things occur, so you don't bring it and those thought processes into your connection.
Yeah. And I've seen a timeline where I was in a relationship with my cousin. So it's very much so possible that you have brought this in from another timeline, brought it into this timeline so that it can actually be healed,
Mm-hmm.
because this is the timeline for it to be healed in. So I can see that that's a very powerful stance to have. It's a very powerful, like, that's very powerful power to be holding, to be able to pull something from this timeline that I'm like, I need to heal this time, and then
Mm-hmm.
be able to heal it within myself so that I can help somebody else. Because it's not just for me. I'm not doing this just for me. It's for those who are like me, who have gone through the situations that I have gone through, so that they can just have a outlet on how to do it. Because maybe you are supposed to heal it this time. This, you might not was supposed to healing in LA. You just supposed to experience it. Now you're here. You're healing. You're actually healing the wound so that you can actually become the greatest version of yourself. That's
Yep.
powerful.
It's all about transmuting energy. So you
Yeah.
can allow yourself to be a victim and be like, well, it's me. You're not transmuting. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly talking about, he's a narcissist and he should have did this, or, they shouldn't have raped me, or my husband shouldn't have beat me, you still sitting in there. You're not transmuting energy. As
Yeah.
witches and warlocks, we transmute, we don't sit in it and wallow in it. We take that energy and we transmute it and we use it for a higher frequency. So you got to understand, if those things have happened to you, you don't know if you were the person who was doing it in another timeline. Like, did you rape somebody in another life? Did you molest somebody in another life? You don't know if this coming back to you in this lifetime. I'm not
Right.
saying that it is or it isn't, because at the end of the day, nobody really knows. But
Yeah.
I just leave it all out there because you just never know why you're experiencing those things. So since we don't know why we're experiencing it, and it has happened to me, and we know that it's because we're in energy alignment, we are trapped what we are, then somewhere within my essence, I am bringing that back to me. And it is in this timeline for me to cleanse it out and clear it up and
And forgive
transmute
it.
that energy to help somebody else. So now I've broke it. It's just like when people talk about generational curses. It's on you now. It may have been on you another time where you did to somebody else, but it came back to you. Now it's on you to break it. Okay, I got raped. I'm breaking it right here. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not allowing this energy to take over me. I can be able to talk about it, transmute it, and release it to a higher frequency and teach other women how to do the same. And we don't hold on to that energy and make ourselves victims, but we use it to draw in more power and release that. Don't let them. That's also about taking your power back as a divine feminine, especially if you have been molested or raped, because that was without consent. All right. So then you really have to look at taking your power back so you can be able to freely walk in a divine partnership,
Yeah.
or you just going to end up messing it up.
That's the fragment that is with that person. That's the
Mm-hmm.
fragment that's within that timeline. And all of this is about bringing those pieces of ourselves back into, so that we can be made whole again, in this reality that we're actually living in and experiencing right now. So, um, when it comes to taking your power back, take that into consideration. You want those pieces of yourself. You want to magnetize those pieces of yourself back to you so that you can have that space filled within you. Um, and I experienced this, like when you lose a parent, or you lose somebody special in your life. You don't really know how that feels until you lose somebody really close to you. And so that also is a fragment, that you have to work through, and you have to call back, you have to you there's that's more work that you have to do, but you
Right.
don't really know how it feels until it either happens to you, like literally to you, somebody very close to you. um you don't know how that feels. So when you talk about, you could have been that person that was actually creating that trauma and that karma, you could have been. And what we need to do as well is we have to get into a space, put ourselves into a space in this reality to where we can actually forgive ourselves and forgive what has happened to us, so that we can move forward. We can collect those pieces and put that puzzle back together. I never felt more whole. I know there couldn't have been a timeline where I was completely whole, if that makes sense, until this timeline, because of everything that I'm learning, everything that I'm healing, everything that is going on, like all of the levels that I'm reaching, all of the growing that I've been doing. I know there could have been timelines where I may have been powerful, but maybe I misused my power. So that's why I have to learn how to use my power in the most positive way in this timeline. I have a South Node in Scorpio. So I know I've dealt with the occult. That's why I was like, I'm not touching spells. I'm not doing that, because I know that there probably was a time where I may have misused that power, and especially being Omo Oshun, being a child of Oshun. Oshun is known for her powerful spells, her love spells. You know what I'm saying? So there's no telling what I have done in a past life and what I may have wrecked people. Like, there is no telling, what you could have done in other timelines, especially having a South Node in Scorpio. Most of the time, that is about you dabbling in the occult and misusing your power. So that's a little hint for those of you who have a South Node in Scorpio. But that South Node has taught me, like, be very careful. Once I regain my power back this time, I am very careful with it. In this life, I've known since a little girl not to misuse and my power, or not to misuse, not to mishandle people. I've always been very much aware of karma. I didn't even know karma had a dharma. Okay. I was thinking that it was always on the negative end. So I didn't touch that. I didn't do that, because I always wondered why I was so cautious of something that, and especially superstitions. I was very cautious of superstitions and all types of things. So I know I dabbled in something that put me in that energy in this lifetime. And through all of this work that I've been doing, not only with my divine masculine within, but my divine masculine here in this realm, this is a part of what I needed in order to become whole, in order to use my power, because we are that is a part of our mission, teaching people how to use their power in the best way possible, not helping people to misuse their power and authority. We have an authority problem in this country, you know what I'm saying? All around, everywhere, you always see people misusing their power. So we can jump on the bandwagon of um being able to receive our power in a way and still being able to use it in the best way that helps out the collective and helps out humanity, helps raise the vibration of this earth. Um, we can go really far this time. We're going to elevate really, really high to those highest levels, and we're going to reach that peak and that enlightenment.
And that alignment. Well, that's all I got to share.
That's it. That's
That's
all.
it. Well, that's it. That's all. Um, thank you, everybody who tuned in now or later. Taking your power back as a divine feminine. We definitely welcome any comments below that you want to share. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and share Witches and Warlocks YouTube, share with people who are, in relationship and not, and they're spiritual and they're trying to, I don't have anybody right now, or I'm looking, or I think, we want to have these conversations with you
Mhm.
about, what are you are going through, what's going on right now,
Yeah.
because it may be something that we've experienced, or you may be in a divine connection and it may be ascended and may be something that we can look forward to and we can look at.
Yeah.
So feel free to share any comments, any thoughts on Witches and
Topic.
Warlocks YouTube. Definitely, definitely, definitely. And thank you so much. And we will be back on possibly next Friday.
Yeah.
You just let me know because it is y'all little holiday stuff. So I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I'm gonna be here.
We're gonna be her.
Uh, I'm gonna be here. But yeah, we may have our 8:30 Central Standard Time, but just stay connected, tune in with us. Make sure you follow Galactic Honey on Instagram and YouTube. Follow Black Fit Witch. Instagram has to be approved first, but on YouTube. And anything you want to share?
Um, I don't have nothing. Like we covered it.
We covered
Keep
it. So
elevating. That's all I say.
we elevating. Y'all watch this over and over again. I know I am because I always give little nuggets after the viewing after we've been talking. So thank you everybody for tuning in, Witches and Warlocks, our divine conversations around divine partnerships. And
High frequencies.